We're here today with Rob Dingman. He's the president and CEO of the American Motorcyclist Association. Rob, thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
So let me ask you, what exactly is corn ethanol?
Well, corn ethanol is a biofuel, and a biofuel is a source of energy that is made from a living organism like a plant. And ethanol was part of the Renewable Fuel Standard that was implemented about 10 years ago by Congress, required a certain percentage of biofuel to be incorporated in the motor fuel that we all use. So when you go to the gas pump, typically there's about 10% of what you're filling your tank with is ethanol. And our concern is that the EPA now is trying to push for higher limits, levels of ethanol in the motor fuel, up to E15, which is 15% ethanol. And that's of particular concern to us because currently it's illegal for motorcycles to be operated with E15, and in fact E15 will void a manufacturer's warranty.
Wow, that's really interesting. So why did we ever start putting ethanol in our gas? Why do we want to put more ethanol in our gas?
Well, I think the original intent of the Renewable Fuel Standard was certainly laudable. I think they wanted to reduce our dependence on foreign oil. They wanted to reduce emissions, and that we really haven't seen that happen as a result of ethanol. And the consequence, I think, has been pretty tremendous. You know, one of the major issues that we see in ethanol is the damage that it does to engine parts. I have a fuel pump with me that was given to us by a local dealership, and the mechanic told us that the damage that you see was caused by ethanol. And the brown particles that you see there are rust that came from the fuel tank. And it's a result of the ethanol and the gasoline separating and the moisture being allowed to get in there and promote the rust. And then the rust particles clog the fuel pump and then disabling the fuel pump, or at least making it run poorly. And we also see the similar kind of thing where particles, corrosion, or rust get into a carburetor or cause other problems. We see you know, plastic parts and rubberized parts being degraded as a result of it. So it's a major problem for motorcycles or anything that has a gas tank, where it might sit in the gas tank in your garage for a few days or a couple of weeks. It doesn't take very long before we start to see damage, and you know, the same thing can happen in your leaf blower, your weed whacker, or even your lawnmower. So it's a real serious concern that we have as motorcyclists, but I think other Americans should be concerned about it as well.
Will it impact us at the gas tank?
Absolutely will impact all motorists, because ethanol has less energy, so it requires more fuel. The higher the ethanol content, the more fuel will be required to go the same distance. So your gas mileage will go down as a result of ethanol, and that's going to certainly cost us more money. So in addition to the repair costs that we see as motorcyclists, you're going to spend more money filling your tank.
So let me ask you something. Is this something that Americans should be concerned about during this political season? Should political candidates be talking about this, and what do we need to listen for?
Absolutely. We did we commissioned a poll recently where 70% of likely voters told us that they oppose the mandate of additional ethanol being blended in the motor fuel. And in fact, 78% said that they had very serious concerns about E15. And one of the most interesting things to come out of the poll was that voters said that they were less likely to support a candidate, a presidential candidate, who supported an increased ethanol mandate.
So that's really interesting. So then how do we educate ourselves? What do we need to know? How do we go about finding that out? And to piggyback on that, there's different fuel laws in different states. So how do you know what your fuel law is?
Yeah, I think you know, a couple of great resources for information about this topic is AmericanMotorcyclist.com. That's our website. But also another great resource is smarterfuelfuture.org. There's a wealth of information on both those sites about ethanol and the entire issue. And one of the other things that I'll say is that one of the real concerns we have is about availability. When E10 was implemented, that's E10 is 10% motor fuel with 10% ethanol. E0 became almost completely unavailable. And E0, of course, is zero ethanol content, so just straight motor fuel. We saw E10 push E0 out of the marketplace, and our concern is if the EPA goes to an E15 requirement, that E10 will be pushed out of the marketplace, and we won't have any opportunity for motor fuel.
Wow. So it seems like there's a lot of reasons that you've talked about today that Americans should educate themselves and be aware of this. Can you just give me a quick recap of those top 3 reasons why this should be a priority for us?
Yeah, it should be a real priority because of the increased costs associated with poor gas mileage and repair costs, the availability of E0 and E10 should the standard be raised, the fact that there are 22 million motorcycles and ATVs out there that weren't appropriately taken into consideration when this type of policy is implemented and promoted. Those are really the main reasons I think we need to educate ourselves more about this, and we need to encourage our elected officials in the EPA to roll back this mandate, not go any further than E10. E15 is just going to be a real problem for motorcyclists and other people who use the internal combustion engine for anything.
Okay, and real quick, one last time, where can viewers go to get more information?
AmericanMotorcyclist.com and SmarterFuelFuture.org.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rob, for joining us and, making us aware and giving us this information.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share this information.